Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Spencer is the smallest town in the United States with a designated LGBTQ center. But the future of its annual Pride Festival could be in jeopardy.
Even if in the short term they can get away with doing something that the community doesn't want to happen, that we can get rid of those people.
Ahead, a look at the proposed changes and how the community is reacting. Poor Handmaids from Indiana traveled more than 1,000 miles to see the border crisis firsthand.
6 months ago, they killed her husband. So what would you do in a situation like this?
They share their stories coming up. And the family of infamous gangster John Dillinger is trying to get his body exhumed. More on how Dillinger's crimes changed the course of Indiana history. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, controversy is brewing in Owen County over proposed changes to rules governing festivals in downtown Spencer. Now, commissioners are considering prohibiting all events on the courthouse square. As Mitch Legan reports, Spencer Pride leaders say the proposal targets them.
Owen County commissioners say the proposal came up last month after they received a petition from taxpayers complaining about the festival's costs, including courthouse security, bathroom maintenance, and courthouse lawn repair. But when Spencer Pride leaders asked for a copy of the petition, they got these instead: form letters complaining about the annual Spencer Pride Festival.
If the commissioners were being honest about why they started doing this assessment, and it's because they got this letter from the public raising these concerns, then they were being completely dishonest when asked, well, what were the concerns?
The letter from the Morals of America Facebook page described the Pride Fest as overly sexual and inappropriate for children under the age of 18. Balish says that's simply not true.
People that I don't know at all, I mean, literally hundreds of people have written in and made comments to that page to give their personal experiences of attending Spencer Pride and how family friendly it is, how affirming it is, how the things that they're saying weren't true.
A standing room only crowd greeted the county commissioners at their meeting this week. Many were concerned with the prospect of shutting all Courthouse Square festivals down. To combat the possibility of such a ban, Spencer resident Scott Winders and the Spencer Downtown Event Coalition drafted a petition. They asked the commissioners to create a temporary committee that would provide input on potential changes to festival ordinances. It also asked them to table the issue for 90 days. The petition has more than 1,000 signatures.
What I really think the committee could use is a list from you of the things you are, wanting to look at for change.
But the only action commissioners took was voting to take the petition under advisement.
They basically just listened to what I had to say and then took it under advisement, which to me is political speak for we're not actually going to do anything that you just suggested.
But Winders says he's not giving up. He's going to keep collecting signatures.
My hope is that we can continue to have the energy to push forward and make sure that even if in the short term they can get away with doing something that the community doesn't want to happen, that we can get rid of those people and put people in there. They're going to listen to the community.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.
Some of the people on the front lines of the border crisis are volunteers who are donating their time to help immigrants as they attempt to find a future in America. Data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection says the agency apprehended nearly 72,000 people along the southwest border just last month. Reporter Barbara Brozier joins us. And Barbara, you spoke with some Indiana residents who recently spent some time in El Paso.
That's right, Joe. Several sisters from the Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ, based out of Donaldson, Indiana, volunteered earlier this summer with an El Paso nonprofit called Annunciation House. It runs several shelters for migrants who've been released by ICE and are awaiting court dates where they will eventually learn whether they can stay in the country. We spoke to the sisters about what they saw and what they think people should know about the ongoing immigration crisis.
The Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ dedicate their lives to serving God and see helping the poor and powerless in their searches for justice as part of their mission. These sisters say they couldn't ignore what's happening on the U.S.-Mexico border, where political decisions and morality can seem at odds.
I wanted to see how we could make a difference for the people who were there, and to see what the issues really are.
The sisters spent a few weeks volunteering in warehouses and shelters in El Paso, Texas, trying to provide some comfort to families who made the dangerous and exhausting journey to America. The migrant stories are ones they won't soon forget.
Their stories basically were, there's no future for us at home, and I'm doing it for my child. And that was the story, one after the other. This is for my child. There is no future. There is no education. There is no money. I am doing this for my child.
They are gentle, poor people escaping violence and what they have to endure. Who of us would endure, whether it's trekking through Mexico or that 3 or 4 day bus trip with a plastic bag to hold my belongings? Yeah. Who of us would endure that?
What some of the families encountered during their journey is hard to fathom, but for many, it paled in comparison to the situations they fled in their home countries.
A woman from Guerrero in Mexico, a state that has had a long history of drug violence. She had lost 4 members of her family, uncle, brother, cousin, whoever. 6 months ago, they killed her husband. So what would you do in a situation like this?
Federal data shows U.S. Border Patrols have apprehended nearly 125,000 families in the El Paso sector so far this fiscal year. That's a more than 1,500% increase from the same period in 2018. The sisters say they try to tune out the negativity and debates that surround the border, but they can't ignore what they saw and heard.
A lady and her 19-year-old daughter coming through, and they said that she said that they were like 2 gates away from freedom, their chance to come in. When they said to her, or actually said to her daughter, "What age are you?" And she honestly said, "I'm 19," where they snatched her away. And she was screaming, and the lady said she was screaming because they said, "You are to be independent."
It really is a crisis situation, and our country really should be looking at it just as much as hurricanes and tornadoes and all the things that affect our people. It's a life and death situation for a lot of people, and we've heard of the deaths already.
They're hopeful people will stop looking at the situation as a political one and see it for what they say it is, a humanitarian crisis.
Now in the spring, Annunciation House says it was seeing as many as 1,000 migrants a day, but the number started dropping off in late June. They say that's likely because of a boost in enforcement efforts at the border and the implementation of the Migrant Protection Protocol that sends asylum seekers back to Mexico. So the desperate situation that the sisters were seeing in El Paso is still playing out, but much of it just across the border in Mexico.
Barbara, thank you very much. Well, results for the state's new iLearn test are now public and reveal just how much lower achievement rates are. Jeannie Lindsay explains what those scores look like and how the state plans to move forward.
Officials attribute the drop to iLearn being completely new and more difficult. Director of Assessment Charity Flores says the drop was expected in part because iLearn covers some content kids haven't been tested on before, like in computer science and algebra.
We also are assessing content on iLearn that had previously not been assessed fully.
Fewer than half of all students in Indiana reached proficiency on either the English language arts or math part of the test. And just more than a third of Hoosier students reached proficiency on both. On the 2018 iStep, the test iLearn replaced, about half of Hoosier kids passed both math and ELA. Governor Eric Holcomb and several other policymakers have said they want to hold schools harmless for the lower scores. State Superintendent of Public Instruction Jennifer McCormick has renewed calls for an overhaul of the state's school grading system. She says the state is still catching up from when the iStep rolled out in 2015.
So we are still feeling the impact of the last performance declines, that we were digging ourselves out of that and we were moving in the right direction.
She's also quick to mention scores for Indiana students on national tests continue to rise. But State Board of Education member David Freitas says getting more kids college and career ready in the state is more complicated than just remediation help to boost test scores.
It's the state of education in the state of Indiana. And if fewer than 50% of the students are not meeting basic proficiency and are not on track on that trend, it goes beyond resources, I think.
The board will hold off on grading schools using the iLearn scores until lawmakers can take action. Now it's in their hands to decide how they'll avoid penalizing schools this time and what comes next for school accountability moving forward. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Jeannie Lindsay.
Now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brozier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. The $50 million renovation project at Indiana State's Holman Center is about halfway finished. Officials say the center will continue to serve as a multi-purpose meeting space for the community. It will have a new freight elevator, additional lounge space, and restrooms. There will also be a new entrance on the south side of the building. The renovations are scheduled to be complete by the end of 2020. U.S. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson says opportunity zones are helping revitalize communities in the Hoosier State and across the country. Carson and Senator Mike Braun toured a major opportunity zone project in Indianapolis this week. Opportunity zones are low-income areas where investments and developments are eligible for federal tax breaks. Braun says one Indianapolis site proves what opportunity zones can generate.
You've got a great state like Indiana that will take this federal investment and hopefully it'll cascade across the neighborhoods here.
There are 156 in Indiana, including one in Indianapolis that's home to an abandoned factory campus. Carson says the designation for that site helped to generate millions of dollars in federal help. The Monroe County Sheriff's Department arrested a second suspect yesterday for allegedly vandalizing a church in Ellettsville. Gregory Sylvie and Tyler Price face felony charges of criminal mischief and criminal trespass. Police say they sprayed graffiti all over the Old Dutch church, including the phrases, "Hitler did nothing wrong" and "Hail Satan." 5 people, including a 6-year-old boy, died this week in a boating accident. It happened on the White River near Martinsville. None of the victims was wearing a life jacket. Authorities say it's unclear what caused the flat-bottomed boat to capsize. Columbus City leaders are preparing regulatory permits to develop the city's riverfront. The more than $8 million project lies between the 2nd and 3rd Street bridges that cross the East Fork of the White River.
There are a few other communities in Indiana that have tried to embrace their waterway, but again, we're a little bit further ahead, and I think it's been a bit of a challenge for the Department of Natural Resources to, sort of understand that people want to get in the water. They don't want to just be on it.
Officials are on their 4th redesign of the site plan, which includes recreation opportunities, safety improvements, and environmental upgrades. Regulatory approvals and bidding could begin in spring of 2020, with construction to follow in the fall. Last fiscal year was a record breaker for the Hoosier Lottery. The state will get $312 million from the lottery. That's the most ever and $6 million better than last year. The bulk of that money goes to help reduce the amount Hoosiers have to pay for vehicle registration. The rest goes to public workers' pension funds. Veterans retiring 3 coal plants, and it could be looking to replace them with wind and solar. In the spring, the state rejected the utility's proposal to build a large natural gas plant. Ultimately, analysts say it will be an economic decision, and wind and solar are the cheapest options right now. The utility NIPSCO announced last year it plans to move to mostly renewables by 2028. And a Carmel family is suing Juul Labs, accusing it of making electronic cigarettes and not warning that they're addictive. The lawsuit states each Juul e-cigarette contains 3 times more nicotine than is needed to satisfy the nicotine cravings of an adult smoker. The suit alleges that 17-year-old Thomas McCullough started vaping Juul e-cigarettes in 2015. When he tried to quit, the teenager suffered severe headaches and other withdrawal symptoms. According to the suit, the teen is now at risk for a lifetime of health problems. Juul officials say they don't market to youth and that the lawsuit is without merit. And Joe, we just learned today, too, that speaking of vaping, the state had its first vaping-related death, the 3rd in the country. So this is a problem we'll be continuing a lot in the continuing to cover a lot in the future.
Barbara, absolutely. Thank you very much. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk, we look back at Indiana's most infamous gangster and how his exploits helped bring about a new era in Indiana law enforcement. And the city of Columbus adds to its design heritage with this year's Exhibit Columbus. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
The WTIU-WFYI News Team connects Indiana to the world. We bring you the top news of the day on radio, TV, and online. We round up the stories that have people talking each week and dig deep into the issues that affect your community the most. The WTIU-WFYI News Team is where you are and telling your story.
$10,000.
15? 15, you think?
20, 21,000?
600.
20. 18 fine.
24.
It's at least 40.
Look at it.
4,500,000.
650.
20.
650.
This textile would be worth about $500,000.
$500,000?
No way.
I knew it. It's just a blanket.
Laying on the back of a chair. Well, sir, you have a national treasure.
Wow.
A national treasure. Congratulations.
I can't believe this.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Large works of art, architecture, and design are on display throughout Columbus as part of this year's exhibition. As Tyler Lake reports, organizers of Exhibit Columbus asked artists and designers to use the city's rich design heritage to explore the relationship between good design and community.
I think with students, we talked about creating a kind of experiential threshold, that would serve as this stitch or this link between the community that we're now based in and this iconic modernist building.
That's Daniel Martinez. He and Etienne Santiago think a lot about how design can foster or hinder a sense of community. Their piece, Entry Portal, is meant to draw the Columbus community into the somewhat stark former newspaper building that's now home to Indiana University's architecture program. It's the kind of thing people think a lot about in Columbus, and it shows.
In this exhibition, we selected participants, architects and designers from around North America who really believe in the value that good design can have in improving people's lives and making cities better places to live.
This is the 4th year of Exhibit Columbus. It alternates every year between a symposium and an exhibition of ambitious designs, and this year it's an exhibition, and that includes big ideas. Like this 30-foot-tall curtain hanging on the side of the city's rundown but beloved Crump Theater, designed by artist Paolo Aguirre.
She invited people through a series of prompts to write a love letter to the Crump Theater behind us, which is the oldest Art Deco theater in Indiana. And through that process, people distilled their words into graphic images.
It's one of many exhibits that brings big architectural ideas together with the city of Columbus and the state of Indiana. This is 10,000 ears of corn planted just outside Central Middle School. It uses Indiana's vast fields of corn to educate students about the relationship between agriculture and food, especially in the heartland.
You can see in the middle of the field right over here is a small patch sort of enclosed in the design, and that represents the small amount of corn that's actually used for human consumption in the world.
The augmented picnic table provides a space for play and can function as an outdoor classroom, while signs scattered around the space lend context to the importance of local agriculture to the global economy. On the city's bustling Washington Street, you'll find a funky, autism-friendly interactive sculpture and a collection of work that ties together good design, local activism, and the global bee crisis in interesting ways. But if you just want to see striking design and innovative materials, head to the North Christian Church, where this soaring carbon fiber tower reinterprets the church's famous spire in a futuristic and organic way. Exhibit Columbus brings people in from all over the country, but Sirac says it's the engagement of the Columbus natives she appreciates the most.
I think that's one of the more rewarding things, is hearing all the different people that live here that know so much about all the installations and can tell others about it.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Tyler Lake.
John Dillinger's family is fighting to have his body exhumed from an Indianapolis cemetery, but his legacy in the Hoosier State stretches far beyond the Circle City. As Adam Pinsker reports, the infamous gangster's crimes actually changed the course of Indiana history.
Almost a century ago, during the height of the Great Depression, Indiana wasn't the best place to live, especially if you were in the banking or law enforcement business.
Because at that time, we were number 4 for bank robberies in the United States, so it was very bad in Indiana at that time.
Indianapolis native John Dillinger was responsible for a good number of those robberies. He and his gang seemed to always be a step ahead of law enforcement.
And all of the local police departments within Indiana, so all the county sheriffs and city PD, they didn't have the authority to cross their lines within their city or their county.
That began to change when the Indiana State Police formed in 1933. They were given the authority to chase criminals statewide. A year later, Dillinger's bank robbing exploits turned deadly after he allegedly shot and killed an East Chicago, Indiana police officer. Dillinger and his crew fled the state. He didn't keep a low profile either, taunting Indiana State Police Chief Matt Leach along the way.
There are stories, we don't have any proof of it, but there are stories that Dillinger would send postcards from where he was or call Matt Leach and tell him where he was, because he knew that by the time Leach was able to get someone over there, he would be gone.
But Leach would have the last laugh after police arrested Dillinger in Arizona a couple weeks after the officer's murder. Leach personally flew out there to escort him back to Indiana.
And he was brought from the Chicago Municipal Airport to the Lake County Jail with an entourage of about 13 cars.
Jim Emerson with the Old Sheriff's House and Jail Foundation says since the officer's murder took place in Lake County, Dillinger was to be held for trial at the Lake County Jail, which still stands today along Main Street. At the time, it was billed as nearly escape-proof.
It probably would still be considered that if the employees of the jail had followed the rules.
Emerson says Leach wanted Dillinger held at the state prison in Michigan City instead.
I think he was concerned at how small Lake County was at the time, and there were just concerns that they would not be able to hold Dillinger because they knew that there was probably going to be an attempt at escaping the jail.
Leach's fears would soon be realized only a couple months after Dillinger arrived. Although he couldn't escape from his third-floor cell alone, it could only be unlocked from outside the cell block. Emerson says help came in the form of this prison employee, Sam Cahoon, who accidentally left the cell block door open while he retrieved some cleaning supplies.
So we opened the door, the trustees went in, and Dillinger interceded to jump between the two trustees and grabbed Sam Cahoon, put him up against the control box, and said, "I'm getting out of here today and you're going to help me."
Using a fake gun apparently carved out of wood, he forced Cahoon to bring other officials up to the cell block where he locked them up. After locking up most of the guards and jail staff, Dillinger escaped from the cell block, came down to the prison kitchen, disarmed the staff that were in the kitchen, and made his way to freedom through the back door. Dillinger then took 2 hostages at a municipal garage and fled town in the sheriff's car.
Went into Illinois. He dumped the 2 hostages off.
Dillinger committed a handful of robberies after escaping from Lake County, but his criminal career came to an abrupt end after FBI agents shot and killed him outside a Chicago amphitheater. Lake County's first female sheriff, whose watch Dillinger escaped under, received the brunt of criticism in the aftermath. But the Dillinger saga helped convince Indiana lawmakers that the state police was an important and necessary agency.
And not too long after Dillinger, the General Assembly actually approved the purchase of radio communications for the state police. So there were definitely benefits that came out of this crime spree that happened.
Emerson says Indiana's court systems, not the FBI, would have had the final say in Dillinger's fate if he hadn't escaped.
He would have been tried for the murder. And if he was found guilty, he would have gone to the electric chair in Michigan City.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.
And fans will be able to buy alcohol when the Hoosiers open their home season at Memorial Stadium this weekend. Officials say the move to allow beer and wine sales in the stadium will make the game day experience safer for fans.
Our focus has been improving the game day experience and reducing alcohol-related incidents, which has been the experience at all the other schools that have implemented that. We expect that to be the case here as well.
Officials say to expect prices of $7 and $8 for beer and $9 for wine. There's a 2-drink minimum. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIU-News.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.